So January is almost over and I still need a clone video. Quick, to the review wheel. And Ragnarok Odyssey Ace. Alright, so I've heard a lot of mixed messages about this game. Let's boot it up on our little PlayStation TV and see if we enjoy ourselves. I'm kind of excited to cover this game for nostalgic reasons because way back in the day when I was a young, naive little baby, probably about 12 or 13 years ago, I played a game called Ragnarok Online. I remember I found a free trial code in the magazine at Kmart, so I had 2 weeks of free Ragnarok bliss before the trial ran out. It was awesome. I was really fascinated with the art style because the environments were these basic 3D polygons, but the NPCs and the players were these beautiful sprites. There was this fancy job system, adorable yet deadly monsters, and a blossoming economy from the players. And the grind. The grind was insane. I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it was almost as grindy as old school MapleStory or even RuneScape in the higher levels. It was the epitome of that Korean MMO grind genre that used to be really big a couple years ago. Just killing the same monsters over and over and over for a chance to get some sick loot. In this case, it was cards that you could augment your weapons and gear with. Now you might be thinking, like, come on, I don't want to hear about this 15-year-old game, it's kind of irrelevant. But it is relevant. See, Ragnarok Odyssey Ace takes place in the same universe as Ragnarok Online. They have the same lore, stuff like that. But they also share one more thing. The grind, the inevitable, relentless slaughter of thousands of innocent slimes, creatures cut down before me, and me subsequently not giving a care in the world. I mean, look at their little smiles. They couldn't be happier. They want this. This game is kind of a mixture of the MMO and the hunting genre in a way. There's a simplified job system adapted from the MMO, including warriors, mages, archers, thieves, and the standard all-around sword-wielding archetype. I went with the standard swordsman job because I'm boring, and I also could change it later if I really wanted to. I tried the other classes, but I wasn't really feeling them, so I just stuck with the swordsman and continued to upgrade all my swords. Each class gets different skills that you can map to shortcut keys. For example, a swordsman can do some fancy sword slashes, but there's nothing super exciting, and they also are really slow to unlock. I could really care less about the story here. You're part of this militia in this town, and they send you on harder and harder missions as bigger and larger threats come to the town's gate. Starts off pretty tame, killing slimes and retrieving items, and it evolves into killing slightly bigger slimes and wolves and things like that. And every once in a while, you'll fight a really large monster, which are easily the highlight of the missions most of the time. I'll explain them a little bit later, though. Pro tip, though, don't go after the crates with the red cross on them. You'd think they'd be health, right? No. No, they're not. The combat is either pretty fun or pretty boring, basically complete polar opposites. It really depends on what map you're on. I'll come back to that a little bit later as well, but I was impressed with all the combos. As a swordsman, you can execute basic attacks on the ground, but depending on how many times you press the 2 attack buttons and your timing, you could change it pretty dramatically. You could even launch enemies into the air and send them flying against walls for extra damage, which is very satisfying, might I add. Even if it's a little too fast-paced to be compared to Monster Hunter, I'd say the pacing is a little bit more similar or even faster than something like Freedom Wars or God Eater. However, the one thing that's just so freaking frustrating about this game is that it'll force you into combat situations. Too many combat situations, actually. I don't really mind having missions telling me to kill certain monsters, but the maps are really good at restricting which path you can take, and to lock you down even further, there are these ambush things that force you to fight an undisclosed and random number of surprise enemies without leaving the area. These are usually really tiny monsters, but it gets really, really annoying because it just slows you down. It gets so old so fast, and depending on the map, you could see them coming a mile away. For example, this map here is nothing but a series of slightly twisted corridors. There are missions that tell you to kill 5 blue slimes, but these slimes might be really deep within the level, forcing you to take one straight path through all of these ambush points. It's restrictive and tedious, which is not a good combination in this genre. Whenever I was getting bored from slugging through the repetitive orc hunting missions or whatever, I would get a mission for a larger monster. These are easily the highlight of the game, really, and these wonderful, large, and varied monsters that offer a little bit more than just repeatedly hitting the attack button. There are giant birds, there's orc kings, there's weird salamanders, there's frost wolves, and there's variants of all these monsters as well. There are a lot here, and it's all varied for the most part. And it really provides a much-needed break from all the teeny-weeny monsters. I think a lot of these monsters are inspired by Norse mythology, but don't quote me on that. Since, you know, Ragnarok is Norse mythology. Like this bird thing who's named Freysvulgur, Hraesvelgar. I don't know how to say it. One thing I did notice is that all these monsters die relatively quickly, but I think that may be by design because of the Vita's portable nature. This makes any farming quick and easy, which you may have to do in order to get some of the upgrades. Unfortunately, the online mode is completely dead. Like, there's nobody ever online, and there was even a daily login bonus at one point, but that was removed as well because the servers were taken down. It's unfortunate since we can't really access any of the content that was involved in that, but I'm honestly not too worried about it. You can have AI teammates, but oh my god, they might be the worst example of teammate AI that I have ever experienced in a video game. They are dumb, they don't do hardly any damage, they don't run away from monsters, they don't make any effort to avoid hits. My AI partners literally serve to spout off an occasional healing spell and act as a distracting sack of fleshy meat. There are passive skills that are influenced by two factors, your weapon and your cards. So the cards they brought in from Ragnarok Online, and they are low drops from every single enemy in the game. Every single enemy has one. And these passive skills grant effects like increased health, armor, evasion, things like that. You can combine a bunch of these into your outfit, and each outfit provides specific stat boosts and exclusive skills to a certain class as well. I guess you could say the cards are augmentations that you could add to your outfit. It's simple, really, and I find that adding health and armor usually works out pretty well. So the equipment in this game is kind of funny and also a pain in the ass to work with. So you have to either buy equipment from the blacksmith using your money and materials, which means you'll have to go grind no matter what, or you can find them as random drops. Usually I got all of my weapons from random drops. The shops don't really make any sense to me. It seems stupid that you have to grind no matter what, and then you'll have to pay. Occasionally you will find these special weapons though that have these upgrade trees. These are really neat because you get to do missions to upgrade these weapons. Like, for example, you may have to go kill 10 bears to add a certain skill or an additional attack power to a weapon. This gave me something to work towards besides grinding through the story. If there's one thing that Odyssey inherits from its MMO predecessor, it's that inescapable charm from the art style. Seeing the familiar winking emote or wearing a piece of toast as an accessory really brought back a flood of memories. And even though these things make literally no difference to the gameplay or to the character, they're purely cosmetic, and they're also super expensive, I'd like to say that they add a sense of self to your character. There's just so many accessories available and personalizations that really make your character seem unique. In fact, the art style, in my opinion, is really well done. Right from the get-go, you make your character, you can pick some silly faces, especially this one that looks like an evil Vegeta. It even has bad tattooed on the side of his head. I don't know why that's there. So when I first started the game, I actually started with some really silly accessories. There was the usual stuff like jester hats, paper bag, but then there was this beauty. I have no idea how they conceived a hat like this. It just replaces your entire head. I don't know. But of course, I used it for a bit. How could I not? The best part is that there are so many more to unlock as you go through the game. And at this point, I just want them all. I don't even mind that they don't do anything. I don't mind that they're super expensive. It adds something to work towards. Compared to the other games I've played in the genre, Ragnarok Odyssey Ace is kind of middle of the road. It can be really frustrating to play because the maps are so restrictive and they force you to mow down 30 or 40 useless, weak enemies before you reach any exciting fights. But at the same time, there's a lot of really cool ideas here. It's definitely a different branch of the hunting genre because there's much less focus on fighting large monsters, but the whole grinding and farming aspect is still there. I'd imagine playing it on an actual Vita will be much more enjoyable because the missions are short and sweet, and the longer your play session goes on, the more frustrating it gets. I'd say pick it up for cheap if you have a Vita. So this is the 8th video in the whole Monster Hunter Clones series since I started doing this, and I still have a ton more games to go over thanks to everyone recommending ideas. But if you're interested in trying any of these, you can see them all on kit.com/GameTaco, and there's also quick and easy links to purchase them on Amazon or Steam or wherever they are. Now, Kit didn't sponsor this video or anything, but I do think it's a cool idea to have easy links to these awesome games and the things I want, like this Ludicrous plushie. I'm gonna buy this someday, I swear. Another cool thing is this Monster Hunter Illustrations book 1 and 2. I'm definitely gonna end up buying these someday, not sure when. Anyway, thanks for sticking through to the end of this video. I really appreciate the support for the series, and I love that you guys are so engaged in them. I like the idea of having you guys pick out the Clones episode, so here we go. Your choices for the next episode are Valhalla Knights 3 on PlayStation Vita, Vindictus on the PC, and Lords of Arcana on the PSP. There's a poll card here on the video and also on Twitter, so go ahead and place your vote either here or at my Twitter at GameTacoFTW. Then next month we'll dive into whichever title you guys want. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Peace.